Joan, thank you very much, and good morning, colleagues. It's a great pleasure to have this opportunity to share my thoughts with you about the development of the Gaelic language, and I do so carrying ministerial responsibility for the development of the Gaelic language within the Scottish Government, and with a tremendous commitment on my own part, on the part of the Government, to make sure that we support and encourage the development and the nurture of the Gaelic language. Joan made reference there to the gathering that I convened in August, which followed the publication of the Gaelic National Language Plan by Bord na Gaelic earlier on this year. And when I discussed the formulation of that National Language Plan is the responsibility, a statutory responsibility of Bord na Gaelic. And once they had completed their exercise independent of government, I wanted to discuss with them how best we could make sure there was a very emphatic amount of support put in place to support the development and the nurture of the Gaelic language. So what I was keen to do was to bring together a whole range of different interested public bodies representing local authorities, some of our agencies of government, some of our supportive organisations within the educational field, to really consider how can we turn a national language plan, which has been the subject of extensive consultation, into a really concrete set of interventions that would strengthen the Gaelic language. So it's really an invitation to a whole variety of different players to bring their sort of combined contribution to the table and work out how we could take that forward in an effective and emphatic way. The first observation I would have on that gathering is that I was delighted by the response of the range of public bodies to that invitation. And basically, everybody that I kind of needed to have there to be involved in this substantive discussion about how we take forward Gaelic were there. The second point was that there was a really wide agreement and understanding that education was absolutely fundamental to how we nurture and support the development of the Gaelic language. So the enthusiasm of a number of communities, then represented through the local authorities, to actually support the creation of a wider footprint of Gaelic medium education within Scotland was tangible at that gathering, and I've subsequently had very productive discussions with a number of local authorities about their future planning for the expansion of the Gaelic medium education sector, and of course the government is very much involved in providing the practical and financial support to enable that to happen. And the third observation I had about that gathering was that there were some really powerful insights from out with the education sector which demonstrated the opportunity to support the development of the Gaelic language and for it to have a profound impact in Scotland. And if I just give you one example of this, the representative of Visit Scotland who were there shared with us data from their analysis of overseas visitors that come to Scotland, whereby over 75% of overseas visitors that come to Scotland want, as part of their tourism experience, their visitor experience, to understand and appreciate something of the Gaelic language and Gaelic culture. Now, that is a most astonishing indication of a level of interest and enthusiasm from overseas visitors, which creates economic opportunity within our society, within our visitor economy, but also within a whole variety of other aspects of the Scottish economy. So the conclusions I came to as a result of that discussion were that we've really got a great connected opportunity to make sure that we secure the future of the Gaelic language through investment in education, which can lead to and support positive economic developments within our society, which of themselves will help to develop and nurture the Gaelic language and continue that virtuous circle that emerges from all of that activity. So what I would say to you in reflecting on that gathering that we had in August is that I now think, and we've taken away from that gathering, a number of strong actions about how public bodies are going to work together to advance this agenda. What we didn't do was set up a new set of committee structures. We set up a new range of collaborations that have got to take place between existing public bodies and local authorities, making use of their existing resources and activities and their working practices to share and support the development, sharing the work to support the development of the Gaelic language. So what I say to you today about Gaelic medium education and Gaelic education in general is set within that context of the wider National Language Plan, whereby education is critical to supporting the development and the nurture of the language. One of the themes that came out of the discussion was also the need to ensure that we supported the active participation of individuals within the Gaelic language and encourage that participation. And principally, we aim to do that through the sphere of education, either in Gaelic medium education or by making sure that we have the materials and the opportunities available to encourage beginners to take up the language later in life. And there's a number of things I just want to reflect on about each of these two areas. First of all, in Gaelic medium education, we have made a lot of progress in the last 30 years on expanding the provision of Gaelic medium education. We now have a range of schools across the country that, and I had the pleasure just over the summer, at the end of August actually, to open the new Gaelic school in Portree, Bone School for Tree, and it was great to see that investment by Highland Council supported by the Scottish Government. I've been having discussions with Glasgow City Council about the expansion of their Gaelic medium education sector, and the local authority is making firm commitments which the government will support in the years to come to expand the Gaelic medium education footprint within this city, and I am very open to conversations in other local authority areas about how we do exactly that. Whilst that's one aspect of the agenda, we have to also make sure about the physical estate. We've also got to make sure that we have appropriate investment in the teaching profession, and I recognise this to be a strategic challenge for us, that we need to encourage and support the development of more teachers who have the confidence and the expertise to deliver Gaelic medium education. We obviously have growing numbers in the primary sector, but I think significant challenges in ensuring that we are able to provide the broadest curriculum choice in the secondary sector into the bargain. So the support and development of the infrastructure and the expertise to support the Gaelic language is a priority of our planning. But when I turn to the second aspect of that agenda of encouraging more participation, we have to make sure that we have the materials and the approaches that will support Gaelic beginners. And in this respect, we need to draw very closely together the work of a range of different organisations. And I was very pleased with some offers of assistance that were made in this process by MG Alba, and we've obviously got the work that is undertaken by Storlan, which is a really great source of educational resource, to make sure that we are investing effectively in a set of 21st century interventions that will support the development of Gaelic medium education and support the development of the Gaelic language for Gaelic beginners. So we'll be concentrating through our dialogue with various stakeholders on how we can advance that agenda in the period going forward. The final observation I'd make to you about the educational arrangements is about a very great strategic opportunity, I think, that is available to us, and that's through the investment the government has made along with Corlin and Share in the Western Isles on the development of the eSchool concept. The eSchool originally, the original concept of the eSchool was an approach that the Corlin was considering to try to meet the challenges of delivering a curriculum across 4 secondary schools that are 120 miles apart from top to bottom, where it was difficult to provide a broad curriculum right across these, all of these schools. What it's developed into, and the government is very, very keen to support this, is the development of an educational resource in the Western Isles that is able to broadcast learning to not just the schools in the Western Isles, but also onto the mainland as well. So we've got a whole range of different educational propositions, some of them in Gaelic, some of them in English, that are being able to be delivered by the eSchool right across the country, and that's a tremendous advantage for us to have. I'm very keen that we maximise the effectiveness of the eSchool, particularly in relation to Gaelic medium education, and that we see the fruits of that in the period to come. So I hope in what I've said to you this morning, you get a flavour of the desire on the part of the government to bring together all of the relevant stakeholders to work purposefully together and in collaboration to ensure that we expand and support participation within the Gaelic language, and to do that principally through the channel of education. But then specifically to make sure that we have in place the resources and the materials to support the educational process within Gaelic. And that's very much what is going to be uppermost in my thinking. As I agreed with the gathering that came together in August that we wouldn't put a cumbersome bureaucracy on top of this. It should be a routine part of the working life of all public bodies that they should be contributing towards the development of the Gaelic language. I would readily concede that some do it more than others, some do it better than others, but we need to make sure everybody is playing their part. And I will ensure that we see progress in this agenda by reconvening that grouping in about 11 months' time now, in August of next year, to take stock on how much progress we've made in advancing the Gaelic National Language Plan. Because only by taking these further incremental steps will we support the further development of the language. And my very last observation is this. If we were to transport ourselves back 30 years and compare where we are today with where we were 30 years ago, I think we could all say that the Gaelic language is more secure in its future today than it was 30 years ago. Is it perfect? No, it's not. But a lot has been achieved in the last 30 years with commitment across the political spectrum from governments of all colours who have nailed their colours to the mast, supported the Gaelic language, but supported it in a consistent, incremental fashion that has strengthened provision year on year, to the point where I think we can say today, 30 years on, the Gaelic language is more secure today than it was 30 years ago. But that's not in any way to suggest that the job is done, that the journey is complete, that there is a lot more distance to travel, but I assure you of the government's commitment to lead public bodies in enabling us to do that in the years to come. Now, as Joan said, I'm going to have to go off and get myself sorted out to open the Learning Festival in a wee while, but I'll stay and listen to a little bit of the seminar this morning, and thank you very much for your participation today. Thank you.